and welcome to Psychic Girls Next Door. And we are back, officially back. And if you haven't heard our past episode, I do recommend checking it out. And it's just so good to be back.
Yes, I'm super excited that we're back. We're feeling good. The energy has shifted. Things have changed. There's a lot going on in the world, but I think it's good to like come back to yourself in these moments when things feel very out of control and very, very wild and out, and not so much in a positive way, to like find like how can you create like inner peace for yourself. And through this podcast, I feel like I've created an outlet for us to like talk about what's going on internally and what we've discovered about ourselves, like growing through the process of the environment that we're in, the world that we're living in. But today we want to talk about scarcity. Ooh, fun.
Yeah, that is a very good topic. I mean, given everything that is going on, and if you're wondering and you see Shannon and I in different settings, there's a reason for that. If you haven't like really caught up, with our latest news, we are in different locations geographically, so that's why you see us remotely, chatting on this podcast. But the energy is the same. We're kind of in space energetically, so that's what matters. Yes. Yeah. Well, scarcity, I mean, it's been a topic like that's been so predominant. I feel like, at least in my life, I just cannot even remember a time when that was not present, which is kind of sad if you think about it. But, even like looking at my family's history, and if you're not familiar with my story, like my grandparents from both sides, they immigrated from Japan, escaping from World War II to Brazil. And there's been a lot of struggle, challenges, lack, famine,
you name it.
All that good stuff.
Right.
It's in the lineage. So they've been through a lot. And all of that, it gets passed on, right? Mm-hmm. Got passed on to my parents. And therefore, I've also I can see how that reflects. And still in a lot of my patterns, in my beliefs. And it's been a process, just to really shift my perspective on this mindset, And it's something that it's just not easy. It's just something that you kind of like, overnight, you're like, oh, no, I don't have this mindset anymore, or this set of beliefs. These are things that are very ingrained, almost like on a subconscious level. Mm-hmm. And it runs in the background in a way, that I've kind of like I came to realize too, that was still running, and it's still running, like in the background. And a lot of my things that are going on in my life right now. So Shannon and I, we were chatting before we started recording here about significant changes in our lives, moves, transitions, and how all of these things it can trigger, right? There's different levels of these beliefs about either scarcity or a lack, especially financially, right? Like that's the one that really hits hard in our daily lives.
Yeah, like when you're moving across country, like you moved a couple states away, and like it's what does that really entail? Like, oh, that means luckily you were able to like live with family for a little bit, but like you have to go back and get your stuff, and like, oh, it's going to cost money for a U-Haul. It's going to cost, kind of like it taps into that place in your mind where you have to think about your resources, and like whether you're super tuned in to your financial resources, whether you're super structured. For me, I am not structured in any way. And like, because I am a little avoidant. If I don't want to look at something, I will not. I will act like I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's like the wiener dog in a room of fire, even though like it's not actually fine. I'm just coping with the discomfort of feeling like I'm in lack for such and such. Like, I like to go shopping, and I do have a good job. I have a great salary. Like, I am in a place now financially a lot better than I was last year. I think last year I was like in a place of feeling obligated to saying yes to like friend events, especially weddings, bachelorettes. One bachelorette, I spent $2K for 2 days in Vegas, and all I got was a plastic cup. You know, like
That's a very expensive plastic cup.
Because it was Cinco de Mayo weekend. We planned it in February. Like I plan events as part of my job. Like that should have been planned in November. Like it's like little things that like you can save money. You can design on a dime. I'm like, we did not need to spend $2,000. And I'm like, literally, like, all I got was this lousy cup from the Cosmo.
Yeah, and it adds up, right? Like every single event, and it's not just like the travel. You have to think about like
outfits and
accommodation and food, and there's like all of it. Spending money when you're out and about, activities and all of that stuff. It all adds up.
Totally. And like when you're at the mercy of other people planning it, you can't really have a say in, hey, let's consider other people's budgets. Like, let's consider so I think that was a great learning lesson that I went through last year. I had a great time at all of these bachelorettes, all these weddings. But at one point I was like, all I can think about is how expensive this weekend is. Yeah. And then it takes you away from the moment of actually being in the moment and enjoying the time with your friends, because you're thinking about all the resources that you've had to spend because your programming is geared and shifted towards the lack or like the limited resource mindset or the scarcity mindset of like, I'm spending this money and I won't get it back. Like the fear of like not having it is kind of like the subliminal programming that I was running on.
Yeah, same. I have a very similar belief too. For me, it's always like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent this much money on X, Y, and Z. You're like, not too long ago, like say, I spent like a few $100s on my hair, getting my hair done.
It looks great.
Then, thank you. But it's like, but I caught myself saying, oh my God, I can't believe that I spent all this money. On my hair, but then I kind of was like, wait, but I do have the money.
Right. You have the resources.
I have the resources, and it's not like, there's like, I'm kind of like in a space where there's absolutely zero money.
Right. You're in an abundant place.
Yeah, you're in a better place, but it's just like, when you catch yourself in those like limiting beliefs, right? Yeah, like, and worried about like how much you spent, and you're counting pennies, which is also great too, because you're budgeting. You're mindful, you're budgeting. You want to be conscious about where you're spending your money, and that's one of the things for me. It's, I think, looking back to, because now I can kind of see my life in two different phases, right? When I lived in California, which is very expensive. And I love California. I love every city that I lived in. I lived in LA. I lived in San Francisco. And San Francisco is expensive. Let's just be honest, And I look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I survived. But it's always one of those things that it's like, it's always felt like a struggle.
Right.
And like everything, like even though like there were times when I had like a full-time job and I was making like decent amount of money, I had like a salary.
Right.
It still was kind of felt like limiting in many different ways of kind of like, oh, I can't spend our money on this because then I'm not going to have money for rent or pay my
It's a trade-off type of dynamic, and it might just be like the situation at the time. But like when you start off in a situation where you're like, oh, I can either do this or that. Like my sister and I always joke around, we're enjoying our rent. We're enjoying our rent this weekend. But it's true. It's like the rent's high. The cost of doing things is high. Like you can make a great meal at home and enjoy your rent and watch Love Island, like, or whatever you want to do at home. But there seems to always be like this trade-off, especially if you're in a place where, the financial, if you're in that sense of like a boxed in feeling of like, I'm only making this certain amount of money from my salary. If you don't have multiple streams of income, if you don't know how to do that, like, 'cause sometimes like I'm in a situation where I have one stream of income right now and it's working for me. I'm in a very, I'm in an abundant place now, but like for a long time, I'm like, I had 4 jobs at one point, and like,
Oh, yeah.
like
So did I. Yeah.
having to hustle and bustle your way through that process and just be able to survive and like live here, not even thrive. So when you're in a place of like having to be in survival mode for so long, you're so used to that level of discomfort, so that you kind of become so comfortable with that type of discomfort. And then people don't talk about this enough, where you start to phase out of that when you are making a little bit more money, or having an opportunity to live with family, and not, or having more abundance in your life. And abundance is not just monetarily, the only version of abundance. It can be several types of forms of abundance. And
Yeah.
but when you shift into that, that can feel so uncomfortable in a different way. Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I feel also like I can speak for others, but in my experience, it's also when you come from a space where it's always been a struggle in the family,
mhm,
and say like in my case, I came to a different country because I also wanted to have a better life, better
right,
opportunities. It's hard not to like match what has been
right,
already running in your family, right? Because like you feel like you're kind of in a better place. So it's almost like, well, I kind of feel guilty. And
right,
so there's a little bit of guilt and shame that kind of goes into it. Well, does it mean like I don't belong to this family anymore? Like you get judged, and there's like all this like comments about it. So it is kind of like a weird place to be in when you start like becoming a little bit more empowered in your energy. It's like, no, I don't have to carry this
right.
moving forward, right? Like I don't have to match this survival energy moving forward. And that's where I've been too. Like the last, gosh, most of my adult life has been about survival, grinding, and hustling, like very like keeping my head out of the water. And I've had like phases in my life that I didn't even know if I was going to have money to
Right.
pay rent or pay like my next meal, it
Oh yeah.
sounds, and I've been in those places too. Even like last year when I was still, living in San Francisco, there were moments that I'm like, gosh, like, I don't know if I can continue living like this.
Right.
Even like, I kind of was like, would I live in my car? I considered that,
Right. Because it can be
like,
so exhausting. And like,
because you're kind of like, you living paycheck from paycheck. And some people don't even have the luxury of privilege of having a paycheck,
right, right.
So you just kind of make enough money to get by. And then I'm like, gosh, like, do I live in my car so I can kind of save money? So you kind of even like, I went through all of those, like, thinking about like all this stuff. But like in my case, I'm also very lucky that I do have family that I can rely on, which is not the reality for a lot of people, having a support system of people that can kind of like lean on. And again, like I'm speaking for someone, like I'm single, so I don't have like children, I don't have a family, that I need
right.
support and provide for. So it's, it's kind of it's a different circumstances.
Yeah.
Where I'm at or we're at.
No, totally. Yeah. No, and I was thinking about that too. Like I've always been very like, not envious, because I don't want to say it's envy, but like I'm always thinking about like, wow, imagine being like a dink couple, like a dual income, no kids, like you split the rent, you split the bills. Like I've been single for so long, like I've never experienced like living with a partner, knowing what it's like to split the rent and like basically cut your like life costs in half by like sharing that with somebody else. And I've always been very like envious of that. And I'm thinking for a long time, like the mask that and the programming and the information I've been running on lately in the past couple of years was like, I am not attractive enough to be a partner. Like, I don't have dowry for, if a man were to like look at my financial shit, I'd be like so embarrassed. And that shame was kind of dragging me down and keeping me in that loop of like feeling so comfortable with that financial discomfort. And it was also like masking and preventing me from even like giving myself a chance to be emotionally open and available for like a partner to come in. I was just rejecting myself immediately because I was so hyper fixated on my lack, what I didn't have, my, you know, financial shit show of a situation. And it's really not that bad. Like, in retrospect, like, I know there are people who are in situations that are like way worse than mine. So like, I have to constantly check myself and be like, no, you're good. You're fine. Like, be grateful for what you have. But it's this constant ping ponging of like, be grateful and then being like, I'm not enough for a partner. And like, I don't have enough to support a partner financially and all of those things. And I realized like, oh, that's very like me operating in my masculine energy, because like, if I'm really going to attract a partner in, do I want to take care of them financially? No. Like, I want to be the one to receive. And I realized like, oh, I wasn't even operating in a place of giving myself permission to receive anything. I was giving. I'm giving my energy, my time, paying attention and helping people at work. And then in return, I get a salary. That's great. That's an even exchange for me. But when you're constantly a provider of like attention, caretaking, when you're giving, whether it's your energy or your resources, your time, whatever it is, you become so used to giving that you kind of forget how to receive. So that's something that I'm healing on now, like permission to receive.
Yeah. Well, because if you look at it, the energy of the abundance is prosperity. It's flowing and it goes both ways, and it's going to have highs and lows. It's never going to be like a high when you have, you know, all of it. There's might be times when you also have to like, you know, spend and give it away, whatever. But I feel like women, we've been so conditioned in this society to always be the provider, the giver, you know, you sacrifice for others. So it's been very embedded in, you know, how we were raised. And when it's your turn to receive, it's almost met with like, oh, do I deserve it?
Right.
Am I worthy of receiving? Yeah. Like, no. And then that's kind of like that, you know, I think we can always like, you see people like, oh, no, like, I don't need this, or no, I'm okay, right? Like, so we can always like, well, kind of default to that mode of like, no, I don't need that. I can do this on my own. I'm independent. And the reality is that it is, of course, it is nice to have with a partner or family that can help you split the bills, split the cost, whatever it is, you know. But again, like, just having that is not necessarily guarantee that financially you'll be okay. That because, you know, things can happen.
Totally.
A partner might get sick, might get laid off, and then it becomes, you know, a big challenge in the couple's relationship or in the family. Relationship. You never know, you know. But I mean, it's hard, you know, it is hard to be so conditioned in this mindset of also that money and prosperity and abundance, oh, it always only happens to other people, you know, like maybe I mean, like I joke, like, I don't want generational trauma, I want generational wealth. And it would have been great if I being born to a family, like, and you just don't have to think about like even going to work and providing for yourself or for your family. But not a lot of us, you know, were in that are in that situation. But then again, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, well, how do we get out of this mindset or energy and start making shifts toward becoming more abundant and more prosperous? And I can speak from my experiences. Like, it's looking at especially like in childhood,
Yeah.
right? Like, what was it? How did your parents talk about money?
Right. What
How
was
did
it?
they, yeah, what was the energy? How did they receive? Did were they also like hustling and bustling, which is
Mhm.
also, a lot of reality for a lot of people? Was there shame around money?
Right.
Was it like
Right.
what happens to the neighbors, or is it money associated with like, oh, if they have money, they're evil or they're like arrogant? So it's kind of like having
Mhm.
to like really assess what is it, the underlying beliefs and what's being running in the background of things, because that will dictate a lot how we see this energy of abundance and prosperity in our relationship with it too.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's like, I think like early on, I witnessed like my parents, like my dad's an independent contractor. He had his own business growing up. My mom was a part-time worker. Like, I think combined income, I don't even know if my family ever made six figures, like that just was not a thing. And like there's no shame in it. And I'm taking the shame away. I think I've healed on the shame that I felt through that process. And I didn't really realize that until I went to college of like, wow, people have so much more than I have ever had. And because then you kind of start to see the world around you. Like whether you like move out of your house, you don't have to go to college to do this. In my personal experience, it was going to college and then just being around a lot of rich people and just being like, whoa, they've never had a want for anything. What is that like? Like, that is such a blessing. That's such a gift that they have never been hungry. They've never not been able to go on a trip. They've never not been able to, get something. They didn't have to have a job in high school to buy their own stuff. But I think the experiences that you go through, you grow through, right? Like being able to like understand, and it makes you grateful for the things that you've like earned. And so they may not have been able to go through that experience, or they may have gone through it in a very different way. And so it's like I realized that I had a lot of comparison pictures that I needed to heal on through that experience of like
Yeah.
comparing what I do or don't have to other people if they do or don't have. I think
And
our
it's,
society does that. Like,
yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, we compare,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, totally.
especially in the age of social media and what you
Yeah,
see curated, on anyone's perfect, I'm going to put quote unquote perfect lives, like all
sure.
the
Yeah,
trips and the expensive stuff. But again, like you don't know what's going on behind the scenes,
right, right. Just like that
right?
idea of like me wanting that dink lifestyle.
Yeah,
Like,
right. You don't know, right?
yeah,
It looks great in paper. It looks
right.
great in, you know, on your Instagram grid or whatever it is, and it's easy to compare yourself to that. But I do feel that when you are in this energy, when you're kind of going struggling, whether financially, because the
Right.
lack and scarcity in so many different ways, it could be maybe not having a lot of friends or community. That can
Right.
be also like a scarcity lack mindset
Mhm.
or resources around you. Um, it's also like we tend to focus a lot on the lack. Oh, I don't have
Mhm.
this. I don't have the money. I don't have blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to have. And you focus so much on that becomes it. It
Right.
becomes the
Everything.
reality, right? So I would say another way of also looking at it is just recognize where is that you're putting your focus and your attention. Is
Yeah.
it like I don't have it? Oh no, as we were talking about, spent too much money on it. What is the narrative that goes around whatever it is
Right.
that
Like,
is
what's the
you would
root?
feel like it's lacking?
Right, right. Like you spending money on your hair, even though you have it, like that, like fear of like whatever is behind that. For me, like I've interpreted it as like fear of like not getting it back, right? Or like, feeling guilty for spending money that
Yeah,
you have every right to spend however you want. People can spend
exactly. And
you have it,
then
you can spend it. Like,
yeah, And then on my end, also like recognizing that, wow, that's was running in the background but also recognize like, wait, but that's not my narrative. I could see like my parents' narrative that would just like, because they would be a lot in this, narrative of saying, oh no, this is too expensive. We can't afford this.
Like
even like say, well, why are you spending all this money on this? Like it seems
casting a judgment on you spending money.
The judgment, like, well, this is so shallow. But again, like it's your money, and it's not like I'm spending like, erratically or things like that. But it's interesting just to kind of notice. I think it's just doing like an inventory around like all this beliefs and how do you act when you feel like you kind of maybe stuck in the situations where you feel like, oh my gosh, like why does it always feel a struggle and a challenge and I'm not moving forward. And it's just like self-reflecting and well, what is it that I'm always saying? What is it that I'm always like listening, even from people around you? You can even like notice from their own projection, like, because they're also reflecting back to you what is going on in your life. Wow, this person is always struggling. Well, how does this also like is showing up in my life? I think it's also like a good way of just like doing some self-reflection, just getting curious about it, and just meeting all these beliefs and all this, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a mindset. Maybe it's something that has been like so predominant in your family, like in your conversations. Why do you catch yourself always saying like, oh, I can't do this, like because and just meet all of this with a bit of curiosity and just give yourself some grace too, because these are patterns, they're not easy to break.
No.
But the first step into really breaking out of it is just recognizing like at least like what it is and then start taking action towards like, oops, okay, I see it, caught it. Okay, can I shift the narrative? Can I flip the disc kind of in a way?
Right. Like, what are you paying most attention to in your inner realm? And like, where does it feel the most uncomfortable? That's where you want to look, because that's naturally where you're not going to look.
Well, absolutely not. It's not fun. So like, just say, I mean, and none of us, like, I would say, gosh, that is just like the most fun place to be at, which is not. But sometimes you do have to kind of like dig a little deeper and just kind of really like, kind of open it up, that little closet that's been closed for a little while, and just be curious and explore a little bit more. But hopefully this will kind of give you guys some more abundant ideas into kind of like be in the space where we can be also abundant in how we support each other, especially in this world, and spread a lot more gentleness and kindness, because I feel like that we're kind of also lacking in a lot of situations too.
Right. Like replace that lack with what are you grateful for? What makes you feel good? What takes you out of that feeling of like not having enough? What's the opposite of that? Like for me, the opposite of like that shame was acceptance. How can I reach that acceptance? Now that I'm kind of in that acceptance, how can I move into a place of abundance and love and like attracting in a romantic partner? So that's kind of like, what is the opposite of the feeling that you're in, and how can you shift it? What small steps can you do to shift it? So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I love it. Yeah, so this is great. But hopefully this was inspiring to you. Let us know also if you also have any tips and what do you do also to kind of tap more into this energy of abundance and prosperity. And we'll see you on our next episode.
Yeah, thanks for listening.